to invite Andrea and Carrie, who went to, Carrie, where are you? Oh, Carrie, sorry. I'm looking over here at Alex. I'm like, why is she over there? Who was last minute to went to it. So look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about the district conference this past weekend from Morelia. Andrea and Carrie?
So we're pleased to be able to share with you this morning our district conference in hopes that you'll feel that you were there with us. It was Joe and Lee. Lee unfortunately had to leave this morning to head to South Carolina for his niece's graduation. So he's here with us in spirit. So it was Joe, Lee, Ron, Felton. Lee, Ron, Felton, Carrie, and I were there representing our club at the district conference. So we hope that you'll feel that you were there and that you'll want to join us next year. So I hope you were here last week when, as Joe said, we had 3 visiting Rotarians from our sister district, 5240 in California. So Sherry Sim to the left is the district governor-elect for 5240 in California, a real spitfire of a lady. And I had met her twice before, and it was wonderful to have her here in San Miguel. And Gary Peterson's daughter is in her Rotary Club in California.
He is a partying.
And then Nick Frankel to the right was a past district governor and has been very instrumental in working with us and supporting our projects through the years. So they were here with us last Tuesday. We took them to dinner. So this will also give you a sense of what we do when we have visiting Rotarians come from other locations in the US and Canada. We show them San Miguel, we take them on projects. So we took them on 4 field trips while they were here so they could see our projects in action. So this is where we did an inauguration of 11 dry composting toilets. 11 families received their certification of having completed the training. It is always so heartwarming. Joe was there with us, and many of you were there, so thank you for joining us. Elizabeth was there. And we just had a wonderful time, as always. In the right here, it's Meche Mercedes from Sedesa, and it's just always a wonderful experience. This is a thank you note that some of them put together for us, and these communities are from Ocote and Lomas de Cocinas. And these 11 families come from far and wide. Some of these families drove as long as 2.5 hours to get there, which was quite an honor for us to meet with them. And hearing their testimonials, this gentleman in the green shirt is Abel. He is one of the technicians who helps train these families on how to build their dry composting toilets and how to maintain them for sustainability. And when we hear their testimonials, it's just so heartwarming. And they're so appreciative that we have helped bring dignity and safety to their families because they otherwise do not have indoor plumbing and don't have indoor bathrooms. So they're giving, the photo on the left is showing the mom of the one family who's finished the certification. She's gotten her dry composting toilet that you'll see shortly. And they each receive a certificate of completion of the training program, and they receive a big applause from us, and they come down the row and shake all of our hands. And then these women in the compo are so talented, and this group does embroidery, and they gave us each a thank you gift of embroidery. Then we had our famous ribbon cutting, and Joe did the honors on behalf of our club. And as you can see, they've decorated it, had butterflies on one side and flowers on the other. This is a big deal. And we celebrate with them. The community comes out. There's a dog that was walking up the steps to check it out. Everyone wants to check out the new bathroom facility. And it's always fun to see what colors they choose. They choose bright colors when they paint these. Some choose to tile the floor if they have the means. This was the first time I'd seen a sink on the inside of the toilet house. Frequently in the past, the sink has been on the outside, so this was really neat to see. And it was interesting, this was Labor Day, May 1st, Labor Day in Mexico. And we noticed that there were a lot more men at this inauguration than we usually see. Oftentimes it's all women and their children. So we weren't sure if they were there because they'd come such a long distance and the men were the ones with the trucks, to bring the families, or they had the day off because it was Labor Day, or that these communities just happened to have more fathers and dads, husbands involved in the community. And Meche hung the photos of the dry composting toilets in these communities. And this was a nice example. I think Elizabeth bought this one. It's a beautifully embroidered tablecloth from one of the ladies. So Elizabeth, thank you for supporting her business. So after on the third day of their visit, Thursday morning, before we headed to Morelia, we had a breakfast meeting with Ezekiel of Apoyo. And we invited Beverly and Ron Felton to join us because they're on the micro-lending team with Norman Felstein and Alex. And we met with him over breakfast to hear straight from Ezekiel what are his expansion plans for Apoyo and our micro-lending program and how we can continue to support him as he grows. So it was a wonderful opportunity for us to hear straight from him what his plans are for growth, both in terms of number of microloans that we can help them fund and mentoring now that we have bilingual speakers in our Rotary Club. Then we took our visiting Rotarians to see a Reader's Digest version of our Girls Empowerment Program. So we went to the community of Don Diego, and this is the community where our Girls Empowerment Program teachers were teaching last week. So we had a group of 5th and 6th grade girls in 2 classrooms, and so we were able to use a space at that school so that Arlen, who's our one teacher from the program who is bilingual, could share with our visitors in 2 hours what we teach the girls in 10 hours over a 5-day period. And they were really, really impressed. Carrie, I'm so appreciative that she's now managing our volunteer drivers, and it's just going so well. But they were just so impressed with how the Girls Empowerment Program is working and how it's changing these girls' lives. And we changed their lives, we're changing their families' lives and their communities. So then we were off in 2 vehicles to Morelia. So we wanted to share the conference with you. Our District 4140 represents 6 states in Mexico, listed at the bottom there. And when we arrived, we registered, and we received our mochila. That's one of my new Spanish words for the week. A mochila is a backpack. And we had all sorts of goodies in the backpack. It was a conference notebook with the complete agenda and many pages for note-taking. We received a certificate for participation, our name badge, and our shirt. And when we were there to register, both Pepe, Jose Garcia, our district governor, also, who's known as Pepe, and his wife Rosie were there to welcome us, which I thought was very nice. And so I was able to introduce Carrie to them. And then when we went out to dinner that evening at a lovely restaurant across the street with our visitors from California. And what's traditional at these district conferences is that at the beginning, after you've had the colors and protocols with the flag and the national anthem, then the students who participate in the Rotary Youth Exchange Program from around the world, these students are here in Mexico, living with host Rotary families. And oftentimes the parents of the host Rotary families' children are elsewhere in the world participating. And they wear their blazers proudly covered with pins and buttons. It was a lot of fun. And they parade through bringing the banners for each Rotary Club in our district. And ours is on the front of our table. So we brought it home. So there's Vanna 1 and Vanna 2 displaying our new flag for this Rotary year. And then the students come back around carrying the flags of their native countries. And it was just always fascinating to see how many countries they've come from. So this is our head table for the opening session. To the left is Pepe, our district governor, through the end of June. And to the right is Greg Franks. Greg Franks has worked for Rotary International in Evanston, Illinois at the headquarters for over 30 years. And he is the liaison to districts and clubs. A wonderful man. We had several opportunities to speak with him, which was fantastic. And Pepe giving him an award for him being at our conference. And then here we have Pepe in the red jacket, again, is Ms. Sims, Sherry Sim from California, who spent 3 days with us here in San Miguel. And then to her right is our new district governor-elect, Claudia Laura. And we had several conversations to meet and talk with Claudia, which was an amazing opportunity as well. She'll be our district governor as of July 1st. And then to her right is Martha Brown, who's the current district governor of 5240 in California. And there's people that you recognize. We did have simultaneous translation, which was extremely valuable for those of us who are not fluent in Spanish yet. Very, very helpful. We had 18 sessions, 12 sessions the first day and 6 sessions the second day. And I'm not going to share all of them with you. I'm just going to share a few highlights. This first one was interesting. It talked about the power of relationships. And I think when you look at our visiting Rotarians who came from 5240, you see that power of relationship, because that's how we raise money for our service projects here. So this was an analogy of comparing the relationships and the power of relationships to an iceberg. So above the ocean level, what you see are your actions and the results of your decisions. What you don't see is underneath the surface of the water, and that's your skills, your beliefs, your values, and your mindset. This speaker also talked about leaders. Are they born or are they made, or is it some combination thereof? There was a session on global grants for water projects. There was a session on the rudder of adolescence and life skills that help young people steer their rudder of life. Then there was a mini trade show that we could visit during breaks and at the end of the sessions each day. This one was on wheelchairs, a wheelchair project. This was a project encouraging children to read. And this was exciting. We got to meet 2 young ladies from Club Zapopan, and this club took our manual for our dry composting toilets and had it translated into an indigenous language so that they could provide 12 composting toilets for 12 families in very remote parts of Mexico. It was so exciting, and Lee was grinning from ear to ear because look how we've extended what we're doing here with our dry composting toilets in our rural communities, and now this is being done in another language. This was the Rotary International table. They always have tables at whether it's a district breakfast or a district conference or the international convention is even larger, but they have the banners that we can purchase for the next Rotary themed year and pins for new officers. There were some booths which sold handcrafted items from Morelia and elsewhere in Michoacán and other topics and companies that might be of interest to Rotarians. Then that afternoon of the first day, we were treated to 2 concerts. This one is a youth orchestra, and we were truly impressed. It was amazing to see. So Diego's going to share a brief video with us, so you can hear these kids. And some of them were quite young, so they appeared to be between elementary school and high school age. So most of their songs were traditional Mexican songs, but I thought that was fun that they played the theme from Star Wars. So here you can see the whole lineup. Some of these children were quite young, and they really appeared to be elementary school age, and they were serious horn players and serious clarinet players and serious violinists. It was just so heartwarming to see what these children have accomplished. Then we had a break between the first concert and the second concert at the Cultural Center in downtown Morelia. Then there was a second concert that Diego will help us with. The second one was an opera by some young people, vignettes of operas. As you can see, it was quite beautiful. Thank you, Diego. And that evening, we returned to the Hotel and Conference Center for a dinner, where we had dinner with some old friends and some new Rotary friends. To my right, and the yellow, is Claudia Laura, again, our district governor-elect. And they always provide entertainment at these events, and these are ladies in traditional Morelia and Michoacán outfits and dance. It was just beautiful. So day 2, one of our sessions was on mochila de vida. So they were on emergency backpacks. And what would you need an emergency backpack for if you had an emergency for the first 72 hours to get stabilized? And so this is a Rotary project underway. Then this young man looked like he was about 17 years old. But he gave a very outstanding presentation on strategic planning. I was just so impressed with all the components of strategic planning. You've got a philosophy, structure, process, and then your future is going to be based upon your decisions in strategic planning. So he talked about how a strategic plan represents a long-term vision. And he talked about how the relationship between a strategic plan and the success of your club. And he talked about the priorities of Rotary, increasing our impact, and expanding our outreach, increasing participation of involvement of participants, and increasing our ability to adapt. And he tied it all back to our founder, Paul Harris, that the vision of one man became action of an entire organization. Another young man was quite impressive. He did a session as a biologist representing Mariposario, Jardín Mágico, so one of the butterfly sanctuaries in in Michoacán. And he talked about the pollinators all around the world, but especially in this region. There's tens of thousands of species of pollinators and how important they are to the ecosystem. They have educational programs where they teach children. He taught us about color in nature, that white is a very unusual color in nature, and that red in nature means toxicity to potential predators. And then, of course, we have our monarch butterflies, which are very important here in Mexico. This gentleman spoke about the transition from gasoline to electric and hydrogen for an alternate energy sources for both personal vehicles and public transportation. And then the last session we had was on the value of water and how water is not an endless resource. So we ended our session with a photo opportunity with our group from Midday and from our visiting Rotarians from California. Then that evening, they had a district governor's gala dinner, which was quite nice. And then what's traditional in Mexico is that many of these clubs have a princess. And at these annual district conferences, the princesses, who are typically the daughters of Rotarians, come, and one of them dressed beautifully, and one of them is crowned to be queen for the year. And then the next morning, which was Sunday morning, we had a lovely breakfast on the rooftop of Casa Grande, and this gentleman in the white shirt in the center, again, is Greg Franks from Rotary International. And we had a beautiful view, and Ron will share a little bit more about the breakfast shortly. And then when you attend these Rotary district conferences, you get a chance to sightsee. So I was Carrie in the middle there, and it's just fun to people watch and to look at the architecture and the culture. Just absolutely beautiful. Really fun to sightsee in a city, especially if you've never been there before. And this is the Cathedral of Morelia. Okay, now Diego's going to run a final video for us. This is the promotional video for next year's district conference. So I hope you'll find it interesting and intriguing so that you'll want to join us next year.
Governor Claudia Lara of District 4140 invites you to the 9th District Conference from May 15th to the 18th of 2025 in Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo. Discover the charm of a unique combination of two distinct yet complementary tourist destinations located on the Mexican Pacific coast in the state of Guerrero. Enjoy days filled with learning, updates, and networking while indulging in the wonders offered by this magnificent region. From the golden beaches of Ixtapa to the picturesque streets of Zihuatanejo, there's something for everyone. Ixtapa is famous for its luxurious hotels, world-class golf courses, and a wide range of water activities such as snorkeling, diving, and water sports. Embark on exciting adventures, relax in the serenity of its beaches, and explore the rich local culture through its craft markets and delicious flavors. Gastronomy is an integral part of the experience in this region. From traditional stalls in Zihuatanejo to gourmet restaurants in Ixtapa, you can enjoy a wide range of traditional Mexican dishes as well as international cuisine. The perfect setting for our 9th District Conference will be the Azul Grand Ixtapa Hotel, which will surprise you with its world-class hospitality, cozy rooms, and amenities for the whole family, including the most loving companions. It is a dog-friendly hotel. Save the date from May 15th to the 18th of 2025 to learn and relax together in Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo. We will share more information with you very soon.
So I hope many of you will be able to join us next year for that. Now I'm going to invite Carrie up to share her experience as a first-time attendee at a Rotary District conference.
Well, hello there. It's very difficult after what Andrea shared to share more because she covered everything so thoroughly. What I can offer is me as a newbie, as a new Rotarian. And from the get-go, there were a ton of surprises. And for me, the surprise was getting to go to the conference. I originally had wanted to go, but we were going to have guests and travel in May. And so it turned out to be a surprise that I got to actually go. And being able to go there, I guess it was just one thing after another that surprised me. A lot of preconceived ideas kind of either blown out of the water or else it completely tweaked because of what I was experiencing. Before, I thought the conference was just a great idea for further understanding of Rotary. Wrong. I mean, it was all that, but it was so much more. And I really feel, I wouldn't say that, I mean, not everybody can go to a conference, we all know that, but I would say that it's essential if one gets a chance to go. For many reasons. One of the reasons I think that was a surprise to me was the amount of interaction and love among the Mexican people in Mexico, being in a Mexican district. We all know the hospitality and the warmth and the kindness and the friendship that Mexican people offer. I am married to a Mexican, so I live with it every day, thank God. But this was kind of over the top as far as just natural conversation, natural interaction, natural understanding of the very country that we live in. And for that reason, I feel like it's almost an essential experience for those of us that are in an English-speaking club. It's easy to become kind of like insular, and this was just so beautiful. And the opportunity to interact and to get their perspective while we're learning all these things about the country was fantastic. So therein was the first surprise. And the second one for me was understanding the scope of Rotary. Now, Andrea, thank you for the iceberg illustration. You know, the top of the iceberg wouldn't exist without the bottom. And the bottom is just the huge undergirding of networking internationally and nationally and on a community and individual level that I was not aware of. It's so intricate. I knew of all the horse trading and the projects and that type of thing. I didn't realize how essential and how impacting they are on an individual and community level, as well as the great grand projects. But the projects end up being the gravy. And that's what I had not understood before. She mentioned various topics. I won't go on further about them, but I did want to say that they were presented within the context of Mexican resources. So, for example, their adolescents as the young people here in Mexico, with all the challenges of cartel, et cetera, as one of their main resources, water as a main resource, insect and butterfly migration as a main resource. So these are things that are part of Mexico that they view as their value as sacred. And boy, hydrogen energy blew me away. The idea that Mexico could possibly be a major producer of hydrogen energy in the future is that's something we need to pursue. That is really something exciting for the country. Firmex, I knew nothing about Fondo Unido Rotario de Mexico, and maybe Ron will make reference to that, I'm not sure, but I didn't realize that that And so that extra resources for the Mexican clubs was exciting. So I want to, just in short, just the takeaway, I guess, was that what I had already mentioned before was that the projects, we look at the Uganda and projects in South America, Ecuador, all that we do internationally, that's the gravy. That's really only, that's a means to a greater end. And I think the greater end is that we all know that when we get together as human beings, we're a hot mess. I mean, it doesn't matter if we're two or if we're in an institution such as a church or a school or a business. A human beings, when we get together, there's friction, right? And I see this international horse trading, the way the clubs are set up, the way Rotary is set up to interact and to flesh out and to work out things. All of that brings out the highest level of humanity in us. There's a real humanity sublimation through the process. And that process, I think, is the end. I think that the projects are the gravy, but that process of working together is actually, I think, gives me hope for world peace. So that's my main surprise, taking away. And I just really want to encourage everybody to go next year. Very, very fun. Thank you.